Today I'm going to talk with you about pacing. If you look up the word pacing in the Oxford Dictionary, it's defined as to advance at an equal rate or as a thoughtful and strategic method to optimize efficiency. So it has sort of two meanings. It involves budgeting of time or energy, as well as a thinking process, a planning ahead. So some daily life examples might be an assembly line, where the assembly line moves along at a constant rate, and it's at a speed that the individual workers can get their part put together, but the end product is made in as quick amount of time as possible. It's efficient. Another example might be a long-distance runner. They have the ability to run quickly, but they know that they have a long way to go. So they run more slowly throughout the race so that they can complete it and still have enough energy to get through the finish line. So in the field of chronic pain, pacing is a strategy that is used by people to help to manage their pain, to get things done without flaring up their pain. What do I mean by self-management? That's just a buzzword for things that you can do to help yourself to manage your pain. And the goal of pacing is to get things done without running out of energy or flaring your pain. Let me explain what flaring your pain means. This graph shows you on the vertical axis the pain scale from 0 to 10, and on the horizontal axis, time passing. So the wiggly line demonstrates sort of the ups and downs of pain that a person with chronic pain may experience. And you can see that this person has a normal pain range from about a 5 to a 7 out of 10. And that means that normally this person's pain isn't below a 5, and normally this person's pain isn't above a 7. However, there are occasions where these white arrows are pointing where the pain does go higher, and that's what we call a flare-up of pain. These two are normal for chronic pain. I just want to point out here that pain is something that our brain decides that we're going to experience. Messages come in from the body and different parts of the brain to the brain, which has to decide, how much danger is this person in? And if the brain decides that you're in danger, it's going to make you feel more pain because it wants you to react to the pain so that you're out of that dangerous situation. A flare-up occurs when the brain is interpreting that you're in danger. The good news is that self-management strategies, such as pacing, can be used to modify this system. It can modify the messages coming in, as well as the brain's interpretation of those messages, so it doesn't believe you to be in as much danger and therefore doesn't increase your pain. I'll get back to that. So, pacing. Simply put, it's balance. It's balancing activity and rest, light tasks with heavy tasks, using one part of your body then another. It also has that planning component, right? That thinking component. And pacing involves strategically planning how to get your most important things done within your pain and energy limits. So let's give a few examples of balancing activities. So say you've got a to-do list, and on your things to do today, it's vacuuming and preparing dinner. So how would you balance those things? Well, in pacing, you would do something like wash the vegetables while you're standing at the sink, and then going down to the table to sit to chop the vegetables. So you go from standing to sitting. Then you get up and you vacuum one room, which is a moving activity. Then perhaps you'd insert a relaxation exercise where you're completely resting your body and giving your mind a break. Get up again, vacuum a different room. From there, you could go back to cook your stir fry, but instead of standing at the stove, you could perch on a tall stool. So that's an example of balancing activities. Using those same goal tasks, planning ahead would be things like thinking at the beginning of the week, what are my meals going to be? And to prepare a grocery list and go shopping a couple of times in advance. or over the week. Go a few times. Have a tall stool in your kitchen, ready to use. Make sure that you schedule the relaxation break, because those types of things tend to get put aside sometimes. So that's the planning that's involved in pacing. I keep talking about activity, and I think it's easy to think of activities as simply being physical, but they're not. If you think in terms of your body and your nervous system in particular, we define activity as anything that you do, you think, or you feel. So they could be physical, or they could be mental, and the mental part would be your thinking and your feeling. So I'm going to talk about a few underlying concepts of both physical and mental activities. So with physical activity, sitting takes less energy than standing. And that's simply because the area of your feet is smaller to hold you up. The rest of your muscles and so forth are having to do more work if you've just got the area of your feet holding you up, compared to when you're sitting, you've got the whole area of your thighs and your buttocks and maybe leaning against the back of a chair that is supporting you, so it's not as energy consuming. Pushing takes less energy than pulling, and that's because when you push, the force is going through your body this way, and the backs of our spines are very well reinforced with ligaments. So when you're pushing, the force is pushing against this nice strong reinforcement of ligaments. When you are pulling something, the force is going this way through your body, and the front of our spine is not as well reinforced. So in order to keep your vertebrae nice and stacked on top of each other, the ligaments, there aren't as many ligaments, so the muscle tendons that attach to your ligaments are having to work. And the muscles are having to do more work too, and that takes more energy. Final physical concept is loading, or adding weight to what you're doing, or pressure to what you're doing. Takes more energy than non-loading. So it's easier for me to walk up the front steps to my house without carrying anything except the weight of my body, compared to if I'm carrying a whole bunch of groceries. It takes more energy to do that. Here are some concepts about mental activity. What you think or what you say to yourself in your head results in how you feel emotionally and what you wind up doing in the end. And so when I'm going to be talking about approaches to activity in a little bit, and this think, feel, do sequence is going to be explained a little further. Secondly, paying attention to what you're doing. So, for example, how you're moving, what your posture is, what messages are coming back from your body, allows you to respond to changes in your body. So if you're getting tired or tense or your breathing is increased, you have to be aware of that in order to do something about it. So those are important mental things to consider. Basically speaking, activity takes away energy. So the harder or longer that you're doing something, the more energy is taken away. So what replenishes energy, you might ask? And I think the obvious answer is activity, rest. Rest is what does it. But that's only one of the things. In fact, that's the bottom of our list. There's other things that are listed here. Therapeutic relaxation, stretching, doing something that's fun, something that you find really enjoyable. Eating, fueling your body. You need to have fuel in order to expend the energy. Sleeping, good deep sleep. Changing your focus of attention, simply changing what you're paying attention to can help to replenish your energy, as well as rest. But what is rest? Rest is not simply lying down or sitting with your feet up. Certainly those are more restful positions. But rest can also be just switching what you're doing so that you're using your body in a different way, or you're using your brain, your thinking, in a different way. You've heard the expression, a change is as good as a rest. It's true. Another thing that is helpful is taking micro breaks, and that's exactly what it sounds like, a mini little break from what you're doing. So An example might be if you're standing at the sink washing dishes. See, my neck is bent forward. A micro break from washing the dishes would be put the dishes down, just straighten up for a second, and then go back to washing the dishes. So it doesn't take a lot of time away from what you're doing, but it really does a lot as far as replenishing your energy and allowing you to keep going in that activity.